I want to tell you a story about someone you've probably never heard of, but whose life, when you hear it, might stay with you forever. His name was Bill Traylor. Bill was born around 1853. We don't know the exact date. There was no birth certificate, no record, because Bill Traylor was born into slavery in Dallas County, Alabama. His parents were Bill and Sally Traylor. They worked on a cotton plantation, land they did not own, lives they did not control. And when the Civil War ended, when freedom came in 1865, Bill was 12 years old. 12. Think about that for a second. Old enough to remember what it meant to be owned. Young enough to carry those memories for the rest of his life. Freedom came, but not equality. Bill stayed on the same land, working as a farmer and sharecropper. The fields didn't change. The work didn't change. He raised a family. He had several children and lived through decades of hard labor in the Deep South. By the 1920s, he was in his 70s. The agricultural world was changing. Boll weevil infestations destroyed crops, and the South was hit hard by the Great Depression. Bill moved to Montgomery. Imagine this. You've worked the land your entire life. You're in your 80s, and now you're homeless and all alone. And yet, this is where Bill's story takes an extraordinary turn. In 1939, at around 85 years old, Bill Traylor picked up a pencil. He sat on a box on Monroe Street in Montgomery, near a funeral home, and he started to draw. Not on fine paper, not in an artist's studio, on whatever he could find. Scraps of cardboard, cast off poster board, packaging from the street. He used pencil, crayons, colored pencils, sometimes house paint. And what he created was astonishing. Crisp silhouettes of people and animals, fighting dogs, twisting snakes, men falling, women dancing in fine hats, figures carrying sticks, strange symbolic shapes, balloons, ladders, crosses, and people drinking. Lots of characters in Bill Traylor's drawings liked to drink. Some images were memory. Some were everyday life. Some were something deeper, allegories, warnings, dreams. Over just 3 years, Bill made more than 1,000 drawings. This wasn't a hobby. It was an outpouring, a lifetime of memory distilled onto those images that he created. And people began to notice very slowly. A young artist named Charles Shannon saw him drawing on the street. He brought him art supplies, paper, paint, brushes, and began saving his drawings. He organized Bill's first exhibition in 1940 at a small Montgomery gallery. They called it Bill Traylor, People's Artist. Hardly anyone came. The art world wasn't ready to see genius in an elderly black man's drawings on scraps of cardboard. But Shannon kept collecting. He understood. By 1942, Bill's health declined. He lost a leg to gangrene. He stopped drawing. He spent his last years living with relatives, moving between Montgomery, Detroit, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia. And in 1949, he died, quietly, buried in a simple grave, no obituary, no recognition, and for decades, silence. But here's what happened next. In the 1980s, the art world rediscovered his work. His drawings, the ones Shannon had saved, began to appear in major exhibitions. Suddenly critics were saying, this isn't just folk art, this is modern art. Minimal, expressive, visionary. In 2018, the Smithsonian American Art Museum mounted a massive retrospective, Between Worlds, the art of Bill Traylor. 155 of his drawings, and for the first time, people saw the full scope of what he created and who he was. Bill Traylor is now recognized as one of the most important self-taught artists in American history, the only major artist we know of who was born into slavery and left behind an entire body of work. And here's the part that stays with me. He started at 85 years old, when most people are forgotten, when most people are told it's too late. He sat on a sidewalk with nothing and turned cardboard into memory, into story, into art. What does that say to us? It says genius can come from anywhere. It says it's never too late to create. It says some of the greatest stories are hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to see them. Bill Traylor's art, his people, his animals, his strange magical world feels alive because it came from a life that no one thought to record. Bill Traylor, against all odds, is one of the greatest American artists of all time.